Please welcome to the stage, Miranda Nash.
Thank you all for being here. We're going to talk about AI. I know you've been hearing about it, but in this session, we're going to go a little deeper, talk about what's under the covers, how we make it work, and what's coming next. So without further ado, let's just dive right in and start with Oracle's approach. What are we doing that's different with AI that maybe you're not hearing everywhere else? And it's these three things. It starts with the technology. We're using the best technology. We deploy that in OCI to ensure that you've got the highest performance, the security you expect from Oracle, and lowering that complexity and risk of adopting AI. And you're going to hear more about this, but because of OCI's incredible performance and availability, they are the platform of choice for many of the large language model vendors out there. And that allows us to bring that value to you, our applications customers. More to come on that one. So you start with the best technology. The best technology, though, doesn't know about your most important enterprise data. That comes from the unified application suite. That comes from Fusion and other sources of enterprise data. Your trusted systems of record. And this is very important. Because of our approach to AI, the data security that you're used to, the role-based access controls that are in your Fusion system, carry through the AI. We enhance that as well with the Retrieval Augmented generation. I'm going to talk more about what that means, RAG, and do it all with the complete unified suite. The third important point, and it's funny, I have to usually repeat this. Can you go back? Sorry about that. I have to repeat this a few times because folks don't quite believe it, right? We are fully embedding this AI with no extra cost. You may have heard it already this week, so I won't repeat it again. But that's unusual. That means the infrastructure, the GPUs you need, the large language model itself, all of that is just there as part of your Fusion subscription. And you know, it matters for the cost, sure, but it also matters to accelerate your pace of adoption. You just turn it on. Comes as every quarter, as part of your quarterly update, as part of the promise of being in the cloud. And that's a fundamental principle for us, because we want you to stay on the cutting edge of AI, and to do that with us, and to do it every quarter. Now, as the capabilities advance every quarter, so do the enterprise guardrails. And that's part of our promise to you, is to ensure this stuff all works together in the real world. So drilling into a little bit. We work today with Cohere as our curated model that's behind the scenes. You know, you've heard of OpenAI probably and some of the other vendors out there. We use Cohere under the covers with what we're providing in Fusion right now. And we select that model for every use case pattern. A use case pattern is something like authoring in the applications, Retrieval Augmented generation. We choose the right model for the right use case to give you the best performance. And we're continually testing behind the scenes. This world is changing incredibly quickly. You know that if you're reading the news. And we're continually testing and bringing you the best every quarter. Again, I said we host the models in OCI. This is really important because the same guarantees that we make for your data in Fusion carry through with the large language model and what we host in OCI. This is very important. And where we're putting our investment within Oracle is in prompt engineering. So you've heard, you know, it's a new term. If you came 2 years ago to CloudWorld, we didn't talk about prompt engineering. And prompt engineering is a big part of the intellectual property, the IP that we're delivering to you as part of cloud applications now. Okay, so what about the enterprise data? Again, the large language models are not trained on your data. They never were, they never will be, they aren't. But how do we get the benefit of your data with that very intuitive language? It's with context. So we bring the private content of your enterprise system, and we use that as context to help the LLM give you very relevant results. And now we can extend that capability with unstructured sources. So of course, there's the structured content in your Fusion applications, your Fusion database, but there's also a lot of unstructured content. And Retrieval augmented generation, we're going to see some examples, helps us extend to that type of context as well. All the while, the human is at the center here. Okay? Now, you may have also heard about agents already this week. I'm going to talk more about it. And in the world of assisted authoring, this human is at the center. In the world of agents, the human is at the center, and here's what I mean. Basically, as agents become more autonomous, we're going to get there, that elevates the role of the human and allows, I believe, all of us to really be more human. Now, not every AI problem or every problem relies on a large language model or even makes sense. It's not necessarily deeply text-based. In those cases, we've been doing this for quite some time, train models automatically on your data in the cloud behind the scenes, serving you your own specific model and making predictions, giving recommendations, your data, your model, only your results. So that's there as well. Third pillar of our strategy, embedding in your existing workflows. Okay, no extra cost. It's part of your Fusion subscription, whether that's finance, HR, supply chain, procurement, sales, marketing, service. It's just there. And this helps us, again, reach more users because talking to customers this week, one of the things I keep hearing is the challenges they face within their own company about rolling out AI. So we are taking every step we can to reduce that friction, lower the barrier to entry, and just make it part of the applications they already know. No change management, just turn it on. Now, our part of this picture is that we're continually measuring and evaluating results. Again, that's part of the guardrails that we're talking about, both online and offline testing, online testing live, the results we're getting back from models, and testing behind the scenes as new models become available. An important part of this picture to make it truly enterprise-ready is enabling our partners to extend those AI with their own AI workflows, and even to extend the out-of-box prompts that we have. For example, adding an additional context that we didn't know about within Fusion development. So those are the pillars of our strategy. And based on that strategy so far, we've released hundreds of examples. We exceeded Steve Miranda's expectations from last year, and this is some of the examples. You know, they come in workforce attraction, they come in productivity and efficiency, revenue growth, they come in finance. And I want to show you just one example of what that looks like, and then talk about the common themes. Let's go ahead with the video.
Let's see how easy it is to create a job posting using AI in Oracle Fusion HCM. Marie is a manager and has an opening for a junior marketing specialist on her team. She needs to write the job description. She wants to make sure it's accurate and attractive to high-quality candidates, but she's busy and there's a lot to fill in. AI can help. It quickly drafts different sections of the job description, and she reviews them. They look great, but Marie wants to be sure applicants are good writers, so she emphasizes that. She saves the description. AI can also help her highlight important skills for keyword searches and filters. It suggests some based on the job description. She adds a few skills and hits save, and that's it. Marie quickly and easily created a compelling and effective job description. And that's Oracle's embedded AI in action in Fusion HCM.
All right, maybe you've seen that one before, actually, or maybe you're using it. Some folks in the room probably are, because we announced That and again, 50 additional features like that last year. Since then, we've come out with about 100, and customers are using them. So these are some of the things they're saying. And I won't read all the quotes, but you get the idea. Basically, whether it's in talent management, rolling out goals, whether it's in recruiting, and the types of benefits they're seeing as well, right? Efficiency and boosting efficacy. I like that phrase. Enhancing decision making. So these are real customers using the 100 examples that Steve talked about earlier today, across lots of different types of companies as well. Okay, so there are hundreds of examples, and what do they all have in common? Language. We're taking advantage of the incredible capabilities of these large language models in terms of language, communicating with humans in a very authentic, human-seeming way. But that's not enough. And that language, again, doesn't know anything about your data. So let's take a question that one of your employees might have. Sarah, does my dental plan provide coverage if my son needs braces? Natural question, we can all relate to that. And, let's ask ChatGPT. What would that look like? You can ask ChatGPT, let's see, go ahead and, there we go, yeah. Okay, if my son needs braces, okay, so let's see what it says here. I'll tell you, it's going to be very well-structured English, perfect grammar, excellent. Check your policy documents. Check whether you have orthodontics coverage, pre-authorization, contact, basically a long TLDR answer, verbose, that doesn't actually answer the question, right? There's no way it can. These models don't understand, don't know your private data. So, in contrast, what happens if you just ask Oracle? Well, same question. We use Retrieval Augmented Generation, RAG, a RAG agent, under the covers, and here's what's happening. So first, we retrieve, that's the R, retrieve. We retrieve the relevant context from the system, from Fusion, because we know who Sarah is, we know what her coverage is, we know who in her family's on the plan, we know the plan details and what that plan covers. So we retrieve all of that additional information and we augment or compile the result along with the pre-engineered prompt. Again, this is part of the IP that we're bringing from Fusion development in through your applications every quarter. We combine all of that, pull out the right chunks, they're called chunks of the document that give the right answer, and send it to the large language model. And when I say send, I mean right there within OCI, right? And then we get back a response. And this is important, we check it, we validate it. Part of our job, again, is measuring and evaluating at every step. And that's how we avoid hallucinations. We check whether the answer truly is grounded in the source of truth. And then, when you do all that, you can give back a super relevant, precise answer to the question, not a TLDR long page of text. This is very important. So this is the theme. This is the number one theme you'll see in the agents that we announced this morning. We announced 50 agents across finance, HR, service, sales, marketing, all the parts of Fusion. And that's a common theme that you're going to see. It's Retrieval Augmented Generation Agents, RAG. But let's make it real. I want to show you another example.
This demo shows how AI agents embedded in Oracle Fusion Cloud HCM can help an employee with benefits enrollment. Eric needs help making elections during open enrollment. He decides to engage with the Benefits Advisor agent. The AI agent has consumed internal and external benefits policy documents that are specific to Eric's organization. The agent also has contextual data about Eric's current elections and dependents, enabling it to provide responses that are tailored to his situation. Eric inquires about health coverage. He learns about new benefits that are available to him and his family this year, and then checks on policy details to make sure he's covered while traveling on an upcoming vacation. He can see sources cited by the Benefits Advisor agent for easy verification, without having to search across portals or sift through complicated health plan documents. Moving on to vision benefits, Eric is curious about which plan provides coverage for a particular corrective procedure. He checks the boxes for medical, vision, and Kaiser, and then asks about coverage for laser surgery. The AI agent shows that LASIK is covered by both vision plans. As Eric wraps up enrollment, it's worth pointing out that the extensibility framework within Fusion applications allows customers and partners to securely extend existing AI capabilities for additional employee support. The extensibility is available on every Fusion applications page, ensuring that customer-specific policies are applied without the need for training or sharing customer data with large language models. And that's it. Using AI agents in Oracle Cloud HCM, Eric can quickly and efficiently compare the coverage and cost of different benefit plans, making it easy to choose the best plan for himself and his family.
Okay, so the first wave of features we announced was all about language. This wave, a lot of it is about context. It's about instructing the large language model to, ignore not ignore, but don't give me an answer from what you learned on the internet. Give me an answer from the source of truth, from the relevant context that I'm going to provide that is coming from your enterprise data. And this is the power of bringing these together, context. But we're not stopping there. So what's coming next? The models aren't stopping there either. The models are getting better and better, and in particular, regarding reasoning. So we'll hear more about that very soon, but they get better at reasoning, and what reasoning allows us to bring to you is AI agents. You may have already heard some about AI agents. Again, we announced 50 of them this morning. We believe AI agents will start to transform the world of work. Let me give you again, actually, I'm going to take you on the journey. So starting with language, because they build on each other, is really important. Starting with language, hundreds of examples. Assisted authoring and summarization. 100 examples so far. Context, being able to use the context, the enterprise data that you have, whether that's in document form or structured form, and that can be significant volumes of context, and telling the LLM, instructing it to get the answer from the source of truth only. So that's search and research, question-answer style agents, like we saw with the benefits example. The same way we answered Sarah's question in a really relevant way. So that's language, context. And now, with reasoning capabilities coming in the large language models, where we're going next, and you'll start to see some of this by the end of the year, is action-taking agents. Agents that can use tools like your email and calendar and Fusion or other enterprise systems. And by enabling that reasoning capability, the ability to make small, low-risk decisions, to use logic, and because of that, we can put together multiple agents to solve a problem, a really complex problem that either we hadn't gotten around to trying to automate in the apps, or really that just wasn't possible before. Let me make it a bit more real with recruiting as an example. So starting with language, you saw the job description, right? A year ago, we delivered that. Simple concept there. Basically, use the power of the language, the large language model. You weren't prompting anything. That's all the IP that we're delivering to you. And you get a job description starting point. That's language. Okay, in recruiting, let's say, what does context look like? It's a hiring assistant. So a candidate comes in, wants to know, what kind of benefit plans in this particular, in Las Vegas do you have available, for example, from an employee of my, possible employee of my level. So it's an interactive way to answer questions from a source of truth with context. Now, what would an example look like in recruiting, say, with reasoning? Well, imagine you need to host several candidates for, an interview day. Planning that is not easy, right? You need to coordinate schedules, you need to send emails, you need to get all the different interviewers and the candidates in the same place at the same time. So you can imagine that being a multi-agent workflow for recruiting. That's where we're going. Now, this is important. One thing I did not say we would do very clearly is to have an agent make a decision about who should get hired for a job. That's a human decision. That will always be a human decision. And that's an example of the guardrails that continue to enhance as we're bringing them more and more capability through these phases. So let's see a hint into the future with this one.
This demo shows how AI agents in Oracle Cloud ERP help drive secure, touchless operations of procure-to-pay processes. It starts with James, a sales VP in Japan, who urgently needs to purchase video production services. He takes a picture of the vendor's handwritten quote and emails it to the Document.io AI agent. Because the agent understands the business context and works with an industry-leading LLM to extract the relevant information from the attachment in email, Document.io can take the next step and create a purchase requisition. The buyer receives a notification to review the requisition. He sees the original descriptions in Japanese as well as the English translation. Document.io also generates charge count codes based on project information and related details from the email. For the subaccount, the agent has insufficient confidence in the value predicted by AI and requests confirmation. The buyer verifies that the subaccount is correct and submits the requisition. Video production goes well. James confirms receipt of services, and the supplier sends an invoice which triggers a workflow in accounts payable. In the Payable Manager screen, we see that the Document.io agent automatically processes invoices in a variety of file and document formats. The invoice from the video production company is ready for payment, so the payment manager initiates payment via virtual credit card. She reviews the remittance advice that Document.io created based on details in the invoice, and then submits it for payment. The virtual credit card details will be automatically issued to the supplier. And that's it. Starting with just a document photo, the Document.io agent enables a secure and highly automated procure-to-pay process. This is just one of the ways we're embedding AI agents in Oracle Cloud ERP to drive touchless operations.
So again, that was just one example. That's not actually future-looking. That's announced this morning, the Document.io agent. But you can imagine, as agents can use tools, interact with humans, and interact with other agents, what we can achieve. And here's why I have all the confidence in the world that we're on the right path here. And I'm going to use an analogy, of the self-driving car. So I live in San Francisco, and there are self-driving cars driving. I see many every day. The first time, you can tell if someone's visiting from out of town because they do a double take the first time they see a car driving by with no one in the front seat. It was just a few years ago that we were talking about assisted parking as a big deal. And now, again, the pace of change here, right? Self-driving cars all over the city of San Francisco. In fact, I was here this morning, so I couldn't drive my kids to school. I put them in a Waymo. And I think this example really hammers home the importance of the third element on this slide here, which is the guardrails. So we've already got all the key components to be able to have autonomous agents working together in multi-step workflows, transforming the way you do work. And those elements are the large language model itself, the real-time input from your world, that's the enterprise data, the context, and the guardrails. They'll just continue to improve, they'll just continue to improve. And here's the thing, if you get on board now, we're improving on these two dimensions, both very important. the use cases and the guardrails. Get on board with assisted authoring. Now with the RAG agents, you will just every quarter start to see these benefits. The large language models on the other dimension continue to improve with their started with text generation, multilingual, multimodal, meaning images and video and audio as well, using tools, taking action autonomously, and reasoning. And that's our promise to you, and that's why I'm very, very excited about this next segment of our talk here today, because I am very pleased to welcome my partner who's working on, the vertical axis here. The CEO from Cohere. Cohere is our partner and enterprise-focused large language model. He also was one of the authors of the original paper, Attention is All You Need, that kind of kicked off the transformer architecture. And he's been named to the Time list of AI 100 every time it's existed. Please welcome Aidan Gomez. Thanks, Aidan.
Of course.
So, Aidan, it was last year sitting at CloudWorld. Remember that, I'm sure. And we've been on this journey together since then. Can you share with the folks here, some of what's happened so far in working with Fusion that maybe has surprised you, or some of the learnings that have happened over the last year?
Yeah, it's been an incredible partnership. It was fantastic to see the actual applications earlier in your presentation, all that we've done together. I think maybe some of the most surprising things for me, I come from a research background, and so the partnership with Fusion has made Cohere invest so heavily in understanding production workloads and real-world data. So we're not just building this for a research project. It's actually to power real workflows and real productivity within the Fusion apps. And we can't rely on academic benchmarks to assess quality. And so our partnership and the ability to really focus on making these models robust and ready for production has been fantastic.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, the measurement is really different in the real world, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the areas of investment I know you're working on is multilingual, and we're taking advantage of that as well. Can you, share with the folks here what you're doing in that regard?
Yeah, so multilingual is hugely important. The technology isn't useful if it doesn't speak the language of the user. And we want AI to impact everyone around the globe. And so we're investing very heavily on our generative models. The Command R in our Plus series supports 10 major languages that include English, Japanese, Arabic, German, French, Spanish, etc. And then on the search side of the stack, which is of course crucial to RAG, it's over 100 languages. And so we'll continue to expand both of those. And as an example of partnerships that we're doing in that space, we're partnering with OCI and NRI to bring this technology to Japan and for the financial institutions there. And so on OCI, they'll be integrating into their platform for financial institutions Command R Plus and our embedding models. So it's starting to get out there into the world, and the models are becoming much, much better across a whole host of languages.
Well, we saw that actually because of the Japanese, processing the Japanese descriptions in that receipt or that invoice, right? And certainly that's our experience using these models as well. So that's great. We talked here with the folks about RAG, Retrieval Augmented Generation. I know you all have put quite an investment in that too. Why was that important? Why are you making the investment in RAG?
Yeah, the guy who coined the term RAG is named Patrick Lewis, and he did that while he was at Meta, and now he leads our RAG efforts at Cohere. RAG is crucial. I think the key part of the value of this technology is its ability to not just know publicly available information, but to know about you, your organization, and your context. And so RAG is the way that we do that. It's how we integrate our models with the ecosystem of data and knowledge that each company has. The second major piece is reducing hallucinations. So models, they're trained on the web, and they try to remember everything that they've seen, but it's impossible. The web's too big. And so they are prone to making stuff up, but that hallucination rate drops dramatically when you give the model access to grounded sources of knowledge. So when it can go out and search and make reference to that knowledge, we can see the hallucination rate drop by a factor of 10. And so it's very, very important for the robustness and reliability of these systems.
Yeah, that's what we see in our testing too. Good. It's hard to understand for folks. I mean, they've used ChatGPT, but it's hard to understand what it means, like when the model's improving and when, some of these new capabilities are coming. Can you sort of share with the folks here with an example?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. I have a demo, if we can bring it up on the screen. It runs really fast, so I'll try to talk through it as quickly as I can. But the basic idea is that we want to show what our models can do for customer support operations. And I want to compare single-step tool use to multi-step tool use, or what you might recognize as agent-like behavior. And so the first thing we're going to do here is we're going to ask the model to identify customers that have pending orders requiring additional verification. To do that, we're going to turn on a tool called Search Pending Orders, and that basically filters a database for orders with the status pending verification. The user of this platform can then go and ask which customers have pending orders verification, and the model returns that, and it pulls back the correct information grounded in the knowledge of that organization. So Alice and Carol here. And importantly, it doesn't just return the response. It actually has citations back to the ground truth knowledge so that the user can audit and check the model's work. So now we can move on to multi-step tool use, which allows the model to automate much more complex tasks. We don't just want to identify which customers need verification. We want the model itself to go through and resolve that customer's query and needs. And so to do this, we're going to switch on a bunch of different tools. And the model is instructed to create and send reminder emails to customers with pending orders that require additional verification. And we get back the results literally within seconds. And in this case, it's not just a single call to a tool, it's multiple tool calls chained together. And so first it searches the customers, then it extracts the verification steps for each customer. And lastly, it sends each customer a reminder to complete those steps. So the potential of multi-step tool use or agentic behavior is to unlock greater automation, augmentation, and take steps towards real agent-like behavior and shift complex and burdensome tasks off of employees and onto the models. So we're super excited to be partnering with you guys to put this directly in the hands of employees.
So that's so interesting. So you're seeing some of the using multiple tools. Again, we didn't have to pre-program anything, right? That's one of the reasons that we're able to go so fast, is that we're relying a lot on the models, and they're just making small decisions, choosing this or that, getting information they need. Is that how you describe reasoning?
Exactly, yeah. Reasoning is breaking down a problem, figuring out how to solve it through a series of steps. But beyond that, even humans make mistakes. We get asked to do something, we come up with a plan, and our first plan doesn't pan out. We get stuck somewhere. And so reasoning is the ability to not just come up with a plan, but iterate on that plan as you get experience trying to solve it, overcome barriers, that type of thing. It's a really exciting and emerging space.
So can you tell us more? This isn't in our script, Aidan, but tell the folks here more about how you train models to reason instead of just understanding language. That seems like a big leap.
Yeah, it is. And it's difficult because the way that we build these models, it involves a bunch of different sources of data, but one of the major ones is web data. And for web data, it's usually the output of a reasoning process. You're reading some article on the web, or you're reading a Wikipedia page. A lot of human reasoning has gone into creating that, but it's not explicitly laid out, right? Like, you don't actually show your work when you're publishing to the web. And so there's a dearth, a scarcity of reasoning data. So what we have to do is we employ hundreds, soon thousands of people who actually are experts in domains like medicine, like computer science, physics, etc. And when presented with a problem, we ask them to write out their monologue, like what's going on inside their head as they're solving that problem. And so that's the way that we get access to this reasoning data, in addition to synthetic generation. So we generate synthetic data from the model. It's like the model teaching itself to reason. And we're able to do that very scalably and cheaply, obviously much more scalably than with human experts. It's a weaker source of knowledge. The humans are dramatically more valuable. But both of these things come together and help massively.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So you're basically giving the model almost an exposure to what's going on as humans are reasoning, as they're thinking.
Exactly.
And that's why that vertical axis just keeps going up with the large language model vendors. That's great. So, folks here in the room have asked me, and they all are realistic, right? And so they have questions about doing AI responsibly. And I know you've got good thoughts on that and have spoken a bit about it. I'm sure with folks here, I guess, what's your perspective on responsible AI?
Yeah. I mean, there's loads of different areas where risk could emerge with these models. I think one of the main ones is bias and us having an echo chamber. These models, they can pick up biases, propagate them forward. And so the way we're trying to mitigate that is via controllability. We want the users or the ones deploying these models to make decisions about how they behave and not lock the models into just one set prescriptive tone or way of behaving. And so controllability is key to overcoming that. At the same time, there's lots of other risks, like the one that we mentioned, hallucination. And we're coming up with technical means to overcome that, like RAG. And so we're going to continue to press on this. We have a team dedicated on safety, and I think it's really in partnership with model deployers like you that we figure out the set of risks within specific verticals and how to overcome them.
Okay, so that's really interesting. So that's why, for example, when we take steps in our prompts to say, instruct the model not to consider things it shouldn't consider in making a decision, gender or whatever else, location, sometimes things like that. That's why it responds to our prompt.
It needs to be extremely faithful to the instructions that its user has given it.
I see.
And so that controllability is essential.
Controllability, yeah, it's very interesting. Okay, and I know, what about humans, right? Humans must play an important part in this, even in the world of autonomous agents, right? How do you think about, sort of putting the human at the center?
Yeah, crucial is feedback from actual users, but these models are created by humans. We have like I mentioned, a big staff of hundreds growing to thousands of humans who actually teach the model. They interact with it, they find errors in the model, they correct and give feedback to the model. And so humans are at the very center of building these models and a crucial part about shaping where the technology goes. It's all dependent on what the user needs and what really the world needs from these models. And so, it's a key piece of building the models, the human experience of interacting with them and what these humans want to do with them.
Yeah. That's interesting. And I want to take the moment to point out that the humans you're getting feedback from, those aren't the folks in the room here, because we're not sending you their responses. No. So that's an activity that you go through to train the model.
Yeah, we hear feedback about general failure modes. Oh, it's not doing this particular category of problem well, and then we'll go intervene to teach the next version of our model to do that much better. But we see no actual user data.
Right, yeah, that's great. Aidan, this is such an interesting conversation. It's hard to imagine that there's a future beyond this future, honestly, because we're going so far so fast. But, I mean, what's exciting you? What do you think is coming next? Because we want to take advantage of all of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's already being talked about here, and I think people know what needs to come next in these models. It's reasoning, planning, the ability to integrate these models with the sets of tools like Fusion that humans use to get work done. And so creating agents that can come up with plans, that can try to actually execute those plans, carry them out, and then iterate when they fail. That's when we start to see the true value unlock of this technology, and we're very, very close. Like, you guys are actually putting this stuff into production, into employees' hands, and it's going to become significantly more powerful, integrated into the software that we use. And so that's what I'm most excited about.
Great. I'm going to throw another question in there since we have 4 minutes.
Okay, do it.
So Cohere is known as an enterprise LLM vendor, large language model vendor, and many of the model vendors that we read about and that we hear about in the news or wherever are more on the consumer side. What does that difference mean to you? I mean, I know what it means for Oracle, but how does that look for you as a model creator?
I think there are different priorities in terms of the features that we expose and the capabilities that we expose into our models. We're not prioritizing our models writing poetry at the moment, or telling jokes, or that type of thing. We're much more focused on actually providing utility to the users of our technology, like you. And so that's why we invested so early in RAG and the ability to personalize these models, give them access to private information to realize the value of these models in the workplace. So I think from a product perspective and a technology development perspective, it shifts our priorities and we put certain things first. I think that broadly across the field, there is specialization emerging. We're starting to see folks really focus on one direction, whether it's consumer, whether it's enterprise, specific verticals. And so for Cohere, in the early phases, we were all kind of doing the same thing. We're all just taking tons of compute and data and building big models. Now it's starting to become clear that different models are better at certain things, and we're here to make sure that Cohere is the best at what enterprises need.
Right, makes sense. And it's, again, those two dimensions. We're making a big bet on you and the others to do this really well. And as you continue to improve the models, we'll continue to work with our customers here on those enterprise use cases, on making sure that we're instructing the model and getting the right results from your own private data as well. And so I think those two dimensions really kind of lay it out there.
Absolutely.
And the message for the folks here, I guess I'll ask you, do you have any closing message for people here? I didn't warn you about that one.
Yeah, well, no, I think going back to user feedback, what I've found is that with Cohere, the strongest determinant of what we work on next, the next generation of the model, the capabilities that it exhibits, is driven by what the customer wants. And so actually voicing where you want this technology to go, you can steer this technology as a customer, as a user of it. And so I think using that and really actively participating in telling the world what we want to do. There's lots of fear about AI, and this gets clicks, gets lots of headlines, and so people talk about it. I'm very optimistic about it. What I want to see is a change towards what should we do with the technology? What do we prioritize? What do we want to build for the world? And so I think that comes from all of us. We need to contribute and ask for what we want in the future. And so I hope that you all do.
It's great. End on a positive message. Thank you so much, Aidan. And
thank you.
Thank you to everyone here for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you so much.